you are.
Hey.
Oh my gosh.
There we go.
That is awesome. How are you doing, Brian?
Doing good. You?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to talk to you about some stuff, Brian.
Okay.
So get ready. No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure at all.
My cat wants to say hi to you.
Oh,
What's up,
dude.
cat? What's your cat's name?
B.
B.
Like B. Arthur.
Oh, nice.
Can we interview the cat too?
I'm sure,
She's gone.
my shitty cat will be around soon enough. Do you want to do an introduction?
Yeah, let's do an introduction. All right, so today we are talking to Brian James Schnedler, and he is currently he is with three groups. One of them, at least, is a solo project, Endless Reach, and also he's in HIVEBODIES and Lung Crusher. But I've known Brian. I think the first time that I met you, Brian, was probably when you first fronted Trendy Bastard.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I met you before then or not. I can't recall. But I do know that we kind of ran around in some of the same circles. So it's very possible. He's also been in Upon the Death Horse, Tertia, and Wax Moth, and Wax Blood as well?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't remember Wax Blood, but I remember Wax Moth.
Wax Blood was basically like Erik and Brian of the Seath and Drew Bissell and I think Kevin Hansen. It was just like an improv noise set that we would do every once in a while, and we called it Wax Blood.
Oh, okay. Nice. Yeah, I don't recall that at all. That's cool though. So yeah, Brian is. We're going to talk to Brian about a bunch of his projects and probably get into some other stuff. Oh, by the way, I forgot to say, I'm Dan.
Oh, yeah, right. And I'm Erik.
Hi, Dan.
Hey, everybody. And this is the Accelerativ Thrust podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot to even say that. But anyway, so Brian, would you like to maybe talk a little bit about like your projects that you're in currently? I know Endless Reach is a synth solo-based project, which we had the pleasure of listening to and reviewing a couple episodes back. But I know I'm totally unfamiliar with Lung Crusher, and if I'm not mistaken, HIVEBODIES is the one that you're in with Chris Thompson, who was also in Trendy Bastard.
No, HIVEBODIES is with Brian Barr, Danny Barr, and Eric Ford of Morphine Dream.
Oh wow, okay.
It started out as just Brian and I doing like drone, like ambient drone with our just guitar, and then it kind of branched off. We added Danny and Erik.
Mm-hmm.
And then Lung Crushers with Chris Thompson, which was of Trendy Bastard, and Nate Resonator of Heavyweight.
Okay.
Cool. And that's kind of in the early stages. We're just kind of just jamming right now, but it's kind of experimental. So
you started in Trendy Bastard. Was that the first band you were in then?
Yes.
Okay. And then Upon the Death Horse, which was kind of more of a Trendy Bastard, for those of you who don't know, had Corey from Closet Witch in it. That was kind of like a grind or a power violence type thing, I guess would be the best way to describe it. And then Upon the Death Horse was kind of more ambient drone type stuff. Wax Moth was kind of hardcore metal type stuff and whatnot. But this new project, Endless Reach, is something completely different, which is, like I said, it blows my mind because it's like, synth music, like cinematic synth music. What led you to compose music on a synthesizer like that?
Well, it's kind of something I've always been interested in. Even when I was in Trendy Bastard, I would just love like horror movies. And then I started getting really into like the silent films. And with Death Horse, it would start out with me just playing acoustic. And like some of the stuff that I was coming up with just kind of sounded like it would fit really well in a horror film. And then I started incorporating the projector behind me and stuff like that with horror films. And it's just kind of spiraled into that. It's something that I've always wanted to do, is just make sounds for horror films. And then with the pandemic hit, like, we couldn't get together and practice with the other bands. I'm like, I'm just going to start doing stuff on my own again. And that's just kind of how it started.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, I listened to volume 2 over the holiday weekend. It's funny to listen to summer, or listen to it during the summer, and like it's nice out. I was at a lake, serene experience. So actually it did work really well at some points, but I really enjoyed it. And of course I enjoyed the volume 1. I kind of went off a little bit about it, but it's just really good. I mean, and
Thanks,
like
man.
I said before, it was like, it's a kind of music that's so easy to blow it. It's so easy to make shitty decisions, and that's what I really like about it, is it doesn't go to those places that automatically make me turn it off. It derives sort of its strength from its atmosphere, and you kind of let that live and breathe, and that's cool. Like most people would put in heavy distortion or screaming or like something like that, but you just kind of let it live on its own as if it were score music. And I think that's a huge thing, and so I've really enjoyed it. And you sent me a kind of a gear list that you used on it when we did the first review, and I thought that was so cool. We may have to get into that. I don't know. Like last week we interviewed Gabby Vanek, who's a bassoonist, and her pedal boards are like insane. And we kind of just straight up forgot to talk about gear, but I don't know. Like I enjoy it. I don't know if the listeners do. And so but we'll get into it a little, I'm sure. So yeah, great stuff.
I like to listen to what she does. That sounds very interesting.
It's cool.
It really is.
It's pretty brutal stuff.
Yeah.
Especially
And it's all
for a bassoon.
The most interesting thing that I found about the interview with her definitely was her history as a metalhead, and how that sort of connected to the bassoon situation, which I thought was just awesome.
It was cool.
Yeah.
I do have a question about your inspiration for, the inspiration for the types of sounds you're making with Endless Reach. So it's kind of a cool combination too of, like, I would say there's some synth wave elements to it, like John Carpenter kind of stuff, but it doesn't live there necessarily. So there's a lot of darker elements to it too. What do you view horror movies? I also love horror movies, but I often look at them as like two separate groups. Like on one level, Return of the Living Dead is my favorite horror movie. You know what I'm saying? But it's also goofy as hell. So then there's other horror movies that are super dark and slow and creepy, and I really like those too. But I sort of think of them as different things. And I don't know. I just wondered, like, what kind of movies have influenced Endless Reach as far as their score goes?
I would say, like, definitely, like you said, John Carpenter. I think my favorite horror soundtracks is Christine.
Oh, me too.
I don't know if you ever listened to that, but it's amazing. Like
the Christine synth sound, it just shoots right through your backbone. It just gives you chills. And that's a great sound score and soundtrack. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And like John Carpenter's like a big influence too, obviously. Not to get too far off track, but I met him one year and I could not talk at all when I met him. I like completely froze. And he said, the only thing he said to me was like, "It's going to be okay."
Yeah.
comforted you, man. What a swell guy.
So his worldview in real life is slightly different than his worldview in his movie.
Yeah.
I never get the sense that it's going to be okay in a John Carpenter movie. Oh, that's
But then,
awesome.
like, walking away, I'm like, damn it, you screwed it up. I wanted to talk to you about They Live, but I
Now,
didn't.
did you know you were going to meet him, or was it a totally unexpected encounter?
Oh, it was at Comic-Con.
Oh, cool.
Okay, so you went there probably with like that agenda, sort of like, oh, I'm going to meet John Carpenter. Did you have anything planned beforehand that you wanted to say to John Carpenter, and then just completely froze and was just like, fuck, I got nothing?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I wanted to talk to him about working with Rowdy Piper at They Live.
Dude, that would be the greatest. I would love to hear his take on that.
Yeah.
Sure.
So he's also in Hell Comes to Frogtown. Is that right?
Yeah.
I don't know what else Roddy Piper is in though. Like everyone, it's always like actor, wrestler, and I'm like, I don't know. I think wrestler should still be first.
Yeah.
I think he's only in a few things, but I guess It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. He did an episode as well. But
He was in an episode of Sunny in Philadelphia.
yeah, it's a pretty good one. Yeah, it's a really good one.
Real. Huh.
Yeah, you'll have to check it out.
Dude, They Live is one of my favorite movies of all time.
It's solid.
Mm-hmm.
So good. I think my favorite part about Christine overall, though, just the idea of a car that comes to life. You got me sold. I mean, I don't know. Cars look like they have faces anyway. If you have to.
I had this 66 Dodge Seneca, which is a terrifying car. And for some reason, it wouldn't go above like 60 miles an hour unless I listened to Rob Zombie, like White Zombie, and then it would fly. It was so scary. Yeah,
So
it really got into like industrial or anything satanic. Like even like My Life with the Thrill Kill Cult would get it up a few mph. You know?
Dude. So did you ever get pulled over in that car?
Yeah, numerous times. Every time I was
tell
like, well, you don't have your seatbelt on. And I was like, well, the car wasn't built with seatbelts. It was a sick ass car, actually.
Did you tell the cop, sorry, I'll take the Rob Zombie out? Next time.
Let me just put on some regular non-fake satanic music. It really got into fake satanic music.
Is it okay if I listen to Roy Orbison? I mean,
I liked that, I guess. Anyway, kind of go on there.
Absolutely hilarious. Did you ever think about making a movie about that car? A car that only gets speed after listening to Rob Zombie?
I really liked that car, but my folks were like, this is when I lived in Muscatine. So it was after I had like dropped out of Muscatine Community College, and I was just kind of like living at home. And so I bought this car for like $600 or whatever, and it was like flat black, and I thought it looked sick, but my folks thought it did not. So my dad was like, you got to slap a paint job on that or something to like get it out of the driveway. And so I got it out of the driveway, you know. Sad story. Yeah. Oh well. It also it took a quart of brake fluid every day. You just had to fill it and basically shoot it out the back every time you stopped at the stop sign.
It was an angsty car. My first car was a 1980 Chevy Citation.
Oh, I love Citations.
It was a great car.
That's an ugly hatchback.
It really is. It was brown too.
My grandma had one of those, and she had a bumper sticker that said, "In case of rapture, this car will be unmanned." And I was like, that's pretty fucking arrogant.
Wow.
That's awesome. Hey, Brian.
You think pretty highly of yourself, Grandma.
Brian, I think we're actually going to change the focus of this podcast on cars now. So.
Yeah. What was your first car, Brian?
Yeah, we're just going to start talking about antique cars. We'll have my dad on as a guest next.
There you go.
He'll talk about it.
What was your first car, Brian?
I think it was a Buick Park Avenue, a blue one.
90s or 80s or what?
80s.
Oh yeah, those are solid.
Yeah. Good car.
Yeah.
I hate to be the boomer car guy, but man, old cars, antique cars are just still the most beautiful thing. Like they really are. I love the antique cars.
Yeah. The Park Avenue went from sort of like a small Cutlass Supreme style or Cutlass Sierra style, I think. And then in the 90s, it turned into like an elliptical car, like a Taurus.
Oh, yeah.
Those are kind of rad now. At the time, I hated them bad.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, I don't know. Like I see these donks in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. It's at least they're doing something, you know. Anyway, I'm going so far off right now, guys. Sorry. When they use like the suction, like pneumatic suction to suck that car in and then reverse the film, and that's how it like comes. Oh my god, it's so good looking. Now they would use CGI and you'd be like, yeah, who gives a shit? You know, like they literally imploded a car for this scene. So good.
Yeah, like one of the most terrifying scenes to me in that movie, like, is when that car is chasing down Buddy Rydell down that dark highway.
Oh
yeah.
Music playing. It's so creepy.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's amazing how and we've kind of talked about this before, Eric, how John Carpenter was just able to evoke so much emotion and make you really think about being in the situation just with the synthesizer.
Oh,
I mean,
for sure. You know, I think that's why it works on sort of a physiological level, because it's like it literally sounds like having chills. It's pretty sick. So anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Brian, you want to, what is the main like differences? Because I've only, out of your 3 current projects, Endless Reach is the only one that I've actually heard. Musically, what's the differences between the 3? You know, like what is Lung Crusher kind of more metal, or HIVEBODIES, or what? Are they kind of all maybe similar in some ways, or?
No, they're all kind of different. HIVEBODIES is more kind of like Doom, like Cult of Luna style. I don't know if you're familiar with Cult of Luna.
Yeah.
And Lung Crusher is more, it's more like Russian circles. It's kind of ambient guitar. We're still in the experimental stages of it.
Sure. So like more, is that going to be more instrumental then, or?
I think so, yeah.
Lung Crusher is going to be more instrumental.
Yeah.
So is Reganator playing bass then?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
I didn't know if he would be doing vocals or bass. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely can't wait to hear those.
Yeah,
are there
for
any
sure.
links for either of those projects yet, or have you guys recorded anything yet, or?
HIVEBODIES has one track up on Bandcamp that Brian and I did, just guitar. It's like a 25-minute drone track.
Nice.
And that's it for that project. And Lung Crusher doesn't have anything yet.
Okay. Well, I'm super excited to hear that.
Yeah.
So you were talking about this is going to be exactly the topic that I want to change course, and I want to talk about the nightclubs in the QC. You know, off limits. Like, you know, because you mentioned that you were never invited and you were really upset. Sorry, Eric. He sent me Brian sent me a message.
Okay.
You remember the Edge in Muscatine?
I don't know.
Okay. So the Edge was a nightclub in Muscatine, and then Off Limits was a nightclub, like a teen nightclub.
I know Off Limits. Yeah.
Okay, you know Off Limits. And Brian, I'm sorry you were never invited. It was a good time.
This still hurts.
Yeah. Did you ever go there? Did you ever listen to the Marilyn Manson like circles? There was always like a circle pit with like giant TVs and Horn and Manson playing on the TVs.
Wow.
Really?
What are some of the influences that got you started in like heavy stuff, like with Trendy Bastard? What led you to kind of start that?
I think at the time I was listening to a lot of Poison the Well. Like that was a big influence, and Converge was another one. But before that, like I was into new metal a lot, like the Slipknot era, like the first Slipknot record.
Nice.
Yeah.
Fear Factory.
I love Fear Factory. Yeah.
Did you say you like Fear Factory?
I love them. I think they're great. Yeah. Like I loved the use of at least triggers. I mean, I don't think they use programmed beats, but it was so rigid. It just made it sort of heavy, and it's in a totally different way than everything else. Plus the other, like there's, you know, two singers, and the one guy, I think, or maybe he just does two styles, but when it goes into the high singing part, it's almost like a Dorian scale. It's almost like he only has like 5 notes that he hits, and it had this weird Middle Eastern feel to it because of that. I just thought they were a real cool, interesting band that left everyone else in the dust, sort of, you know?
Yeah. I didn't hear any other band like them in that genre at that time. I still listen to Demanufacture.
Oh yeah,
all the time.
That's one of the new metal bands that I never got into. How does new metal hold up to you as a whole right now, Brian? Like, have you ever gone back to it? Like,
oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
I'm still a dork when it comes to that.
Yeah, same here. Like, I actually listened to not that long ago. I actually listened to like the first couple of Korn records and the first Limp Bizkit record because Spotify made me do it. I blame Spotify and the streaming services for that stuff. You can't put that on me. Sorry.
Spotify.
If it's there right in my face and I'm not supposed to do it, I'm gonna do it. You know,
it says I have to listen to this today.
So I guess in that way you are kind of a rebel for listening to Limp Bizkit. It makes you a badass.
I actually listened to Wes Borland's project.
Black Light Matter.
No, Big Dumb Face.
Oh, Big Dumb Face. That was awesome.
That was good.
Such a funny record.
It was like kind of green jello-ish, right? A little bit, or it was heavier though, a little.
Yeah, it was like green jello, but there's parts of it that were really like Ween too.
Yeah.
Like a lot like Ween.
Can we decide if something's like Ween that we call it weenie instead of weenish?
Yeah,
it was very weenie.
It's a little weenie. I like that.
Yeah. I've never actually listened to Limp Bizkit. I've heard the singles or whatever. Is the first record like, should I check it out? Even just for reference? I mean,
in my opinion, and I don't know, Brian, you may disagree with me. I think the first Limp Bizkit record was raw and heavy. And I mean, after the first Limp Bizkit record, I don't really like them, but I enjoyed it. Did you like the first Limp Bizkit record when it came out, Brian?
I think I did. I haven't heard it since, probably. I got into other bands at that time, so I kind of fell off the Limp Bizkit train there.
I will say, if you don't like the rap metal side of new metal, you're probably gonna hate it because it's all over that. I mean, Fred Durst raps. I mean,
I probably
what's that one song? Psycho female blowing up the phone lines.
What?
It's really bad rapping. It really is.
This whole section of this conversation was worth it just for you to do that.
Dude,
that was sick.
The sad thing is there was a period of time where I could have rapped the whole album probably. I mean, seriously. Wow. And then there was also, he references suicidal tendencies in the same song. He's like,
oh, snap.
All I wanted was a Pepsi, just one Pepsi, far from suicidal. Anyway.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
That's enough to make me listen to it right there.
Okay.
I mean, I don't care who it is. If Taylor Swift said something about Mike Muir or suicidal, I'd be like, fuck, it's amazing. I don't know.
Oh my God. Taylor Swift, if you are listening to this podcast, please do. It'll further your career and your fan base.
Yeah, right. Or she could just start wearing like a bandana over her eyes, you know?
A backwards red hat.
Oh my God. My whole life I've wanted to start a suicidal cover band and play Mike Muir, because what a What a
Yeah.
cool job. Just hopping
Definitely.
around, saying stuff in a really high, soft voice.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Why is that the style? It's kind of like Snoop Dogg did the same thing. Like if you were, it's like creepy if someone came up to you and there's like, all right, yeah, let's get it going. You'd be like, what the fuck are you doing, man? You're gonna sing for a heavy metal band in that voice? Jesus Christ.
Oh man, dude.
Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna
Okay.
change my position too. Yeah, you should definitely check out the first one. But it's your record, Eric.
Okay. Based on that, hell yeah. All right.
Just based on like your reaction to everything right here, I'm gonna say. And you know what? We should review it.
Oh Christ. Okay.
Okay, anyway.
We'll have Brian back on for that review.
Yeah, Brian, you want to go ahead and let's do it?
Just sure.
All
It'll be
right,
fun.
really good.
So is the new metal is what sort of got you into heavier music, would you say? And
Yeah.
initially? And then was there kind of a bridge group that got you into more hardcore or like Converge or?
Yeah, I'd say Converge. I kind of got into them late. But I'd say before that was probably Dillinger Escape Plan.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
a great bridge group for
definitely.
just about everything.
Yeah. It was the first, Dillinger was the first thing I heard that was really extreme metal. And then, it kind of went to Converge from there and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Would you say that those, the vocalists of those bands, like, you mentioned Jacob Bannon and Converge, would you say that really influenced your vocal style, like, in Trendy Bastard and Wax Moth and the heavier bands that you fronted?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like, just not necessarily like how he screams, but just like his stage presence was like, I've never seen anyone like him, like the way that he is on stage. I've never seen anybody with that much energy. It's nuts. But like his vocal style is definitely like, I appreciate it. And just his approach to his art. I don't know. I just find it fascinating. Like he's super talented.
Yeah. When you started doing Upon the Death Horse, speaking of kind of the stuff that you mentioned, Jacob Bannon, I mean, he's definitely not just a vocalist because he also does the graphic design
Mm-hmm.
group. I mean, all the art that you see on the covers of the album, he does all of that. And Kurt Ballow, the guitar, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but the guitarist, he's the engineer. He records everything.
Mm-hmm.
So that band is essentially like, to me, at least in the metal world or whatever you want to call it, they're like the essential DIY band, basically.
Right.
And I noticed, when after Trendy Bastard and you started Upon the Death Horse, that's when you really got into like the projectors and stuff that you were talking about. And a lot of that stuff was, or maybe all of it, I don't know. It was stuff you filmed that you put on the projector. Am I correct?
No, not with that project. Endless Reach, I have like the YouTube channel, all that stuff I filmed. But with Death Horse, I use silent films for that.
Okay. What got you interested in bringing that element to the stage, starting with Upon the Death Horse? Because I kind of feel like ever since Upon the Death Horse, at least with your own projects, there's always been that sort of, I guess, aesthetic applied to at least the live shows. So like I've noticed that you also seem to be really interested in visual elements to your music as well. I mean, you mentioned John Carpenter in this.
Right.
Can't get much more visual than that when applied to the music. What kind of started your interest in pursuing something like that, especially coming from, Trendy Bastard into that?
Well, like I said, I've kind of always been a fan of like horror films. It's just kind of something that I've always wanted to see live.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like a lot of music, if it had a video behind it, it would just make the experience that much more intense. For me personally, like I feel like it just takes attraction away from me.
Mm-hmm.
don't focus on my terrible guitar playing, focus on on the film behind me,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And it kind of helped me play it a little bit better. I felt,
For sure.
feel like, because I get pretty nervous sometimes when I go to play.
Yeah.
Do you sync it up with what you do, or you just kind of let it roll and do what you do?
Beforehand, I'll try to find a spot in the movie and kind of time my set and try to line it up a little bit. I kind of do that.
Yeah.
Was there any one artist you would say, like a musician, that you saw kind of do that in a way that you wanted to see? Or do you kind of feel like you sort of, what you did kind of the first time you saw it, like when you did it yourself?
I would say like what really got me into it was the movie Dead Man.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Jim
sure.
So, yes. So there's special feature where Neil Young's playing to scenes of Dead Man. That song that he plays throughout the whole movie. That's kind of what got me into it.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Is that on the DVD then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Wow. You said that was Neil Young playing to that?
Yep.
Awesome. You know, Neil Young is, I feel, underrated sometimes when it comes to like sort of the more experimental, weird stuff that he does.
I do too. Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, he's like that album Trans. I don't know if you guys ever heard that one.
No, I don't know. Yeah.
It's a record that he made that was an electronic rock record. It was inspired by krautrock and Kraftwerk, things like that. And the label told him, you need to make a rock record next, like a Neil Young sounding rock record, or else we're going to drop you. So he followed it up with a 50s style rock and roll album that sounded nothing like Neil Young. And then after that, because I think he only had like 3 albums left. After that, he gave them a country album, which they passed on. And then I think they finally were just like, you know what, screw it. We're not going to win. Let's just put it out and get him off the label. And then when he got on a different label, he went back to the traditional Neil Young sound.
I only knew he was weird because of the Devo stuff that he's done. He's done like a movie called Human Highway that Devo's in. And yeah, they do a cover of, I think, Satisfaction or something that's totally out of control. But that's when I was like, oh wait, what? Neil Young's weird?
So I'm gonna kind of jumpstart the equipment question here a little bit, Eric.
Cool.
Or the equipment conversation that I feel we're inevitably gonna have here. So I kind of talked to you a little bit about the synths that you do use in Endless Reach and in your music and whatnot. Well, first of all, can you remind me what synth you do use? And also, and you might have already told me this, but what got you interested in buying a synth in the first place?
Let's see, like a couple of years ago, there was a band called All Your Sisters. I don't know if you've heard them or not.
I haven't.
It kind of got me into like the synthwave genre a little bit, and I started listening to a lot more of it. So it kind of made me want to buy one. I've had synths before in the past, and I've had samplers. And then with the pandemic, like I knew it'd be an easier route for me to get into that and be able to make a record with, since I could do it by myself. So that's kind of what got me into it.
Did you self-teach yourself to play guitar?
Yes.
Okay. And were you always playing guitar even when you were in Trinity Bastard, or is that something you picked up afterwards when you formed Upon the Death Horse?
I was kind of towards the end starting to learn how to play or teach myself how to play. When Death Horse started, I'd only been playing for maybe a year.
Yeah.
That. So yeah, it was towards the tail end of Trinity Bastard that I started playing.
Sure. Does your music get a lot of approval from the bar crowd in Muscatine?
I haven't had too much experience with the bar crowd. I could probably say that they wouldn't like it.
Okay. Well, I was going to say they do take a lot. I mean, I always hear from like that pawn shop owner that they pay like $1,000 a gig.
Oh, sweet.
You should try it.
Well, who pays $1,000?
Oh, supposedly these bars in like Illinois.
I mean, I can bullshit for $1,000.
Oh yeah, definitely. I would play like any amount of covers you throw at me for $1,000. Like
I'm starting it today. 90s country cover band right now. Let's do
exactly. Even if I don't know how to play anything, I'll lie and say that I do.
There you go. Money up front.
Yeah.
And then a 4-hour noise performance. And which breaks. Well, guys, we're going to take a little break. Make sure to run up to the bar, get a beer, tip your bartender, tip your waitress. Thanks for coming out. We'll be back in about 30. Just going to grab a drink and we'll be right back. And then you get back. Just
I would also
just going to do a cover of Sun.
There you go.
You wanted
I y'all said you're a cover band. We are.
You wanted a cover band? You got a cover band.
This one's called Air Conditioner outside of Ace Hardware. It's one of my faves.
Actually, it would be dope if you just requested an air conditioner and you just mic'd it. And that was the band. Like a loud, or like a generator running or something.
This one's called Airless Sprayer at Han.
You still work at Han, don't you, Brian?
Yes, I do.
I remember when I used to job coach at All Steel, I remember like there was one area where it was just like,
yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't know what they were doing, but it was music to my ears, man. I was just like, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. Sorry, guys.
Do you find any inspiration in mechanical sound? Right? No, seriously. I mean, I do.
Yeah, no.
I really do. I worked at
there's
quite a few
definitely like
places. So
there's definitely some machines that go off that definitely you could find rhythm from.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to just go in and mic a bunch of them.
Yeah, for sure.
Crank the reverb all the way up.
Just like record it. What
Yeah.
Who's that one guy that does that actually? He like makes like his own instruments out of machines. He's on relapse. He's
Author and Punisher.
Yeah, Author and Punisher. Yeah, you ever heard of that, Eric?
No, I haven't.
He actually
Pretty
makes his
good.
own instruments. Like, and I mean, his stage setup looks like a workroom at Han.
Nice.
Or like a department at Han. It's crazy. And yeah, he makes like his own out of industrial equipment. So he's like the real industrial. And I think he's kind of like the Captured by Robots guy, where it's like he's also the road crew. So it's like,
oh, so he takes it out, sets up the machines.
yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't know. Maybe by now. I mean, he's open for Tool at this point. Maybe by now he's actually got road crew that. But I think at one time to get started, you always have to be your own roadie. You know, I mean, unless he hired somebody right away. Hey, I'm looking for guys to, carry like a bunch of machines across the country.
That's a terrible idea, though. It's like, oh, these amps aren't quite heavy enough. Let's bring a drill press. Jesus Christ. I can't even imagine. You need like a hydraulic lift to get it on stage.
Yeah, that would be crazy. He brings his
Are
own
you forklift certified?
Yeah, right. On your rider. What do you need? Well, some LaCroix, a forklift.
That'd be funny if he like tours in a forklift, so he has to take 28 days to get through a day. Because that's how long it would take in a forklift. Forklifts don't go that fast, do they?
No.
They probably shouldn't.
Yeah, if it does, then it definitely shouldn't. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
I've seen them go pretty fast.
I would clearly be the unsafest person in an industrial setting. That is why I've always done retail and janitorial work.
That's why you don't even play industrial music.
That's
Someone's
true.
going to get hurt.
Someone's going to get hurt. If I played industrial music, the audience would be carried out on stretchers.
Wow.
That's why I play pop music.
People get carried on stretchers, but for different reasons.
It might be.
One show you get a metal sliver in your eye, the other one you just get too hot. And
Yeah.
Molly or something. I don't know. Are you a fan of industrial music, Brian?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Yeah. I heard you mention that you worked with Kevin Hansen earlier, so
Yeah.
I didn't know if I'm sure he brought the industrial. That's kind of what he
For
does.
sure.
So yeah, that's awesome. Who are some groups, old or new, that you really like in that genre?
Ministry.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
They were like the first one I ever heard. I heard them before I heard Nine Inch Nails, actually, which you figure like Nine Inch Nails, I would have heard them first because they were pretty popular at the time. But yeah, Ministry was the first one I heard. Yeah, I'd say like the Skinny Puppy, The Process. That,
oh hell yeah,
I like that one a lot, and Godflesh.
Nice.
Yeah.
Are you a fan of the Cleanse, Fold, and Manipulate record by Skinny Puppy? It's an older one than The Process.
I don't know if I've heard that one.
Oh, it has a lot of samples from like Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2 and stuff like that. So that's always good.
I think I would like it.
Yeah, I adore Skinny Puppy. So yeah.
Yes. The only one I've ever heard is Too Dark Park.
It's also good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really know of a bad one, to be honest. They do what they do, you know. Actually, if you don't like them, every one of them is terrible. They're not one of those bands people are like, oh, I don't know, they're okay. Nah, no, they're terrible or they're awesome.
No middle ground at all. So are there going to be any recordings coming out anytime soon with Hive Bodies and Lung Crusher?
Hive Bodies is taking a break, and then Lung Crusher is kind of going slow at the moment too. Kind of not doing anything until probably after October.
Yeah.
But Endless Reach, I'm planning on releasing a record next year at some point in time.
Will those include the singles that you've also been putting out, or are those
It's
just
going to be
things
all
you
new.
wanted to get out? Cool. Yeah, because
All
those are
new
great
track.
too. So
Yeah, thanks.
yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think the plan is to do like another like Friends of Horror record. It's going to be called Friends in Horrifying Times. Is what it's going to be called. Yeah, just dedicate more tracks to friends.
That's so cool. I love the names. The titles are so fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great.
I felt like since like everyone was locked down in the pandemic, like that we all just wanted to see each other. Yeah. So it was my way of saying, hey, I'm still here. Like this is for you.
Yeah.
This just crappy horror theme songs for you.
That's so nice though. Seriously, it's so nice. I love it.
Yeah, it's awesome. Absolutely. It surprised the hell out of me. I mean, I didn't even, until you mentioned Endless Reach, honestly. I'm so glad you did too, because I feel like I never would have discovered it. You know what I mean? I'm so glad you did because it surprised the hell out of me. Like I loved it.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. I'm happy that someone likes it.
Oh yeah, it's so good. As soon as it started, I was like, oh shit, this is something I like. Like it's not like I didn't want to, but it's one of those things. It's like you're almost surprised. Does that make any sense? Like Dan and I listen to a lot of music, and a lot of times I'm finding things to say that are positive about it,
Right.
And this, it's really cool when you hear something, you're like, oh shit, I don't have to put any effort into this at all. I just love it. It doesn't happen that often for me. I think it's because I'm an elitist prick mostly.
I have the same issue. Like I listen to something like,
yeah. Oh, this was sick till the vocals came in, or like until they made that terrible choice, or they edit it like an old MTV show, like, or some like in a horror movie when something jittery runs fast at the camera. I'm like, oh, fuck off! Why'd you do it? Anyway.
I
don't know. Do you got any questions for Brian on? How about equipment stuff, Eric?
For sure. Well, like I was saying, it's funny because after we did the review, Brian actually sent me pretty much his whole list, which is awesome. There's some good stuff. The Microcore XL, I love the micro Korg. I've never used the XL, but I think the micro Korg, in my opinion, suffered from not having everything just on, like having a tactile interaction with it. It was a lot of menu diving, and I don't know if the XL was the same way. They're super powerful synths, but a lot of people didn't use them to their potential because they couldn't or didn't want to sit there and scroll through. What do you think of that, Brian? Is the XL different than that, or is it sort of the same?
The XL is different than the original.
Okay.
The XL's got a lot of presets in it, and it's a lot easier to navigate.
Nice.
Like I have a Behringer synth too, and that one's way too complicated for me.
Which synth is that? The Behringer?
Yeah, I can't think of the name of it right now.
Okay.
But yeah, there's no presets on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very touchy. And yeah, just way too complicated for me.
Gotcha. Well, and like you said, when I asked you about it, you said that you use the Micro Korg XL through pedals. And I've always found that the Micro Korg is a super nice platform for that, because the sounds are cool and you do have enough control on the fly to kind of change them up. But running them through, it's just nice synth sounds for, to build on. So use a lot of like dirt pedals with the synth, or is it mostly delays and reverbs and things like that?
Yeah, a lot of delay, a lot of reverb, freeze pedal, the loop pedal, and just building sound after sound after sound.
Yeah, nice. And you also said you use a Moog app. Is that the mini Moog app that they came out with? Or they during the pandemic they released their app that was free for users. I remember that. That was cool.
I took advantage of that.
Do you use that mostly for leads or for foundational things, or just whatever?
Foundational things.
Cool.
Yeah. Yep. And then other than that, I use the Moog Theremin. I have an electric Theremin.
Is it the Theremin?
Yep, Theremin.
Yeah. That's really cool. Did it take you a long time to dial that in? Yeah,
it was kind of weird at first, and then I'm like, I could see if I could run this through pedals too.
Oh, for sure.
That.
Yeah.
Hey Brian, awesome. on the tracks that you have drums, are those all programmed drums?
Yep.
Are they analog drum machines, or are they through like digital?
That's through the app.
Okay, through the app.
Yep.
Curiosity, what app do you generally use for programmed drums?
GarageBand.
Okay, you use GarageBand. Okay, cool. Some of those drum sounds I thought were really, really cool also.
Yeah, those were a pain.
Yeah, they definitely can be. I actually still use strictly analog, my DR880, which came out in 2008, and I still, for whatever reason, can't wrap my head around digital audio workstation drums at all. Yeah. And they should be, logically, they should be easier, I would think.
Yeah, you would think so.
Yeah, but and everyone says they are. They should be easier, but
yeah, I was explaining to Erik, like, it's very very convenient to use the GarageBand app, but it's also really inconvenient at the same time.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I've never actually used the GarageBand, but I would like it someday. Yeah, I've heard that it's really, really, really cool.
Yeah, I have a M Audio MIDI that I use with it, so it makes it easier.
Are you ever planning on taking Endless Reach to a live setting?
I'd like to eventually.
Yeah.
If you get it up and running, definitely let me know, because I would love to get something together, do some shows. I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
I don't know. I don't really do a lot of that kind of stuff that I release to the public or anything, but at home, that's about all I do is synth out hard nonstop.
Yeah.
And so I think that'd be a lot of fun, because I like noise as much as the next person, but sometimes when you have 4 or 5 projects on one show and they're all just noise and either ambient or harsh noise, it's kind of like, okay, Like it's like, dang, I shouldn't have quit smoking because I would go outside right now.
You know, the
Not to be rude, but like even just add in a drum machine or a drum beat or a live element to it, or even just calming it down and making it kind of creepy, or just a different vibe in general is always, in my opinion, welcome. So I would love to put some stuff together.
you know,
that'd be fun.
what's interesting about that is every band I've been in has at least once or twice been involved in a show where we were the token like band. And then every other act was either a noise act or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like some sort of ambient project or whatever. It's always interesting to be the token rock band. They're more scared and intolerant of the rock band at those shows.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
Sweep the filter, you posers.
Yeah.
Sorry.
What are you
I have a love-hate relationship with noise music, as you can tell.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard not to have a love-hate. I don't believe anybody who says they're completely in love with noise music. But that's just me.
Yeah.
I'm assuming everybody thinks like me. Hey, that New York hardcore thing that you were talking about, if you do play live, you are going to have that on the amps, right? New York hardcore.
This thing here? Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Little Snake Plissken?
So,
Nice.
like,
You're going to see it. It's kind of in the shadow. Now I see it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Before you go into, like, you know, a synthwave track, you are going to encourage, like pits.
Yes.
Like, right? I've always, I still find it funny, and I don't know if it's funny, but in my mind it is, when people play acoustic shows and encourage mosh pits and things like that.
I've never experienced that. Wow.
I've tried to experience it, but nobody does it when I request it.
I see.
You know?
So you're talking about you. I get it.
Yeah. Well, no, like
I'm at a coffee shop. I tried to I just stand up and let's open up this fucking pit.
yeah. Well,
And they just kick me out. It's bullshit.
Just try to make it the most orderly pit possible. Spot single file,
yeah.
We'll call your name when your pit's ready.
straight line, alphabetical order.
Yeah.
Pass out papers with instructions.
Yeah.
That would be the best way to do it. Want safe? We're gonna play it safe.
I was gonna ask Brian.
Yeah.
I have a hard time finding modern horror that I like.
Right.
Do you have any? I mean, I loved the ones that bubbled up to the surface that are cool, like The Witch and Heredity and Midsummer and stuff. Do you have any new movie recommendations for me?
Oh man, I know over the winter time there was a bunch that I was watching that I cannot remember the name of it now.
Gotcha.
One that sticks out to me is called The Shed.
Okay.
That one's pretty good. And Summer of '84. This one is kind of loosely based on the Johnny Gosh story.
Really?
They don't like go out and say that it's based off that, but it is.
Wow. All right.
Summer
Check
of
that out
'84.
too. Nice.
What?
I'm always looking.
So it's loosely based. Real quick though, I got to ask a question about that. Do they indicate at all that it's based on the Johnny Gosh story? Like, does it?
Yeah, they don't go out. They don't go out and say it.
Okay, but like, okay, all right, interesting. I'm gonna have to check that out because the whole Johnny Gosh thing is very disturbing and terrifying, but interesting.
Yes. Yeah, and that movie has an awesome soundtrack too.
Okay, cool.
Is that a recent? That's a recent one.
Yeah, that came out a few years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, anything within 5 years, I still consider recent. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
I don't know if you guys have ever seen the movie Turbo Kid.
No, but I love that name.
No.
Oh, yeah. Anyways, this same people that made that movie.
Okay.
Do they play the Judas Priest song Turbo during it?
Turbo Lover.
Yeah, Turbo.
No.
Okay.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to pass on it, Brian.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Let's see.
You had
what
me at
else.
turbo.
Yeah.
You took me away from not having turbo. Okay, so
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what other ones that I recently saw. Wolf Cop.
Oh yeah.
well, that sounds awesome.
Have you ever
Yeah,
seen that?
I did start that one. I'll finish it.
I think the other one was Hunter x Hunter.
No, I didn't see that either. Dang.
Hmm.
I think that's the name of it. I could be totally wrong.
Okay. All right. We
Yeah,
got
so many.
some movies to watch. Nice.
Yeah.
There's one that always looked interesting to me. Back when Family Video was hell, I think even this dates back. So this isn't too recent because I think this even dates back to when Blockbuster was still in town, called Bloody Murder. You guys
I
ever
don't
heard
know
of that one?
Mm-mm.
Hmm.
The cover of it looked like a very like just generic, the most generic version of Jason you could possibly. It's like an overweight generic Jason with a. I mean, he's got a chainsaw and everything. It totally looks like they ripped off like Jason, but anyway,
Wait,
then
he has a hockey mask and a chainsaw.
yeah, he's got like a hockey
Wow.
mask type thing or a mask. I just remember like me and my friend Josh would every time we went into Blockbuster or Family Video and saw this, I had to be like, hey, you know what we could rent? And then I'd point to it and be like, bloody murder, like super loud. And
But you never did.
we never did because he would
Wow.
start laughing and walk away. And he would never, he would just be like, he thought I was joking. And I was like, being serious.
There's
And then-
nothing funny about bloody murder, bud.
Yeah. and then a few years later, there was another movie that came out and it was called Bloody Murder 2. There's a sequel made to it as well. So
Wow.
I don't know.
Have you guys seen Rubber?
No.
Oh yeah, I did see Rubber.
I've heard
The
of
tire.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's this tire that just like expand or just basically like goes after people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think it might still be on Netflix.
Oh, all right. Well,
There's another one, Bloodline, I think it's called. It's got Sean
heard-
William Scott in it, where he's a serial killer.
oh, I don't know that one.
Yeah, he does a really good job.
Nice.
Like,
Uh,
Yeah, it's
there's that
really
one I
good.
told you about on Netflix, Eric. I don't know if you heard of this one, Brian. It's very campy, very cheesy, but in my opinion, kind of cheesy in a good way, at least for modern horror. The Babysitter.
Oh, I think I have seen that.
Yeah, I think it's a kind of a cheesy, campy. It's not a good movie, but it's kind of, in my opinion, it's one of those so bad it's good kind of movies. You know.
It's a new movie, you said? Newer?
Yeah, I think it came out. Well, there's two of them. There's The Babysitter, and then there's The Babysitter. I think it's Killer Queen, the sequel that came out in like 2020.
Huh. Okay.
But then the first one I think came out in 2018 or something.
Nice.
They're both on Netflix, and I mean, I recommend them if you're sitting around during the afternoon and there's nothing else to do. Like all these other movies that were recommended, I would say are probably better than it, probably, but I don't know for sure. Especially
Yeah.
Rubber. Rubber should be at the top of your list.
All right, I'll check it out. Sounds good.
Killing of a Sacred Deer. It's got
Sounds
Colin
familiar.
Farrell in it.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
It's basically like an homage to like Stanley Kubrick films. To
Oh,
me.
really? Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty terrifying. It's like a psychological thriller.
Nice.
Any good comedies, guys?
Happy Gilmore.
No, yeah, definitely. The most iconic part of that movie is when he hits the nose of that clown with the golf club. You're gonna get it, clown.
One that I found to be sort of horror and comedy, but not really a comedy horror, just real strange, was That Evening with Beverly Loughlin. It's the guy who did The Greasy Strangler, which
That
I
is-
always love.
Have you ever seen that, Brian?
No.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
It's weird as hell.
It's like
That's all I have to say about it. I don't know. Weird as
I
hell.
recommend it if you're into just like weird movies and I almost want to like spoil parts of it but I won't do it out of
Yeah.
respect, Eric.
The Greasy Strangler. Okay.
Greasy-
Mhm.
I believe the full movie is actually uploaded to YouTube, so I believe you can watch it. It's fantastic. Well, I'm not going to say it's fantastic. It's
if you like really terrible, stupid things, it's
yeah,
amazing. It's one of
It's
the
a
best
terrible-
movies I've ever seen.
it's a terrible, stupid thing. Yeah. I couldn't have said it better myself. I recommend it, Brian. I recommend that terrible, stupid thing.
All right.
I recommend all terrible, stupid things.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't have time for good things.
I
Who
love
cares?
terrible, stupid
Someone
things.
set out to make something good and they did it. Wow, exciting.
Yeah. Well, if it's terrible and stupid, I'll probably like it.
Have either of you seen Bill and Ted Face the Music?
Yeah, I saw that.
Is it any good? Is it worth it?
I don't know. I don't know.
To this day, I love Excellent Adventure and Bogus Journey both.
I don't know. I have no idea. It was okay. I watched it and I didn't hate myself for having watched it.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
that's about as,
Yeah,
about as positive as I can be,
one.
you know?
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, folks. You can still catch us on the social medias. Two social medias anyway. The Accelerativ Thrust at the Instagram and the Accelerativ Thrust at the Facebook.
Yeah. And Endless Reach is on Spotify and YouTube. There's a YouTube channel. And
With a lot of really great
Pandora.
is that also on Bandcamp?
Not yet.
No, but
It's
another.
also on iTunes.
Oh, on iTunes. Cool.
videos.
Yeah. And then we can find one track from HIVEBODIES on Bandcamp as well, you said?
Yep.
Also, if you want to hear Trendy Bastard, there's some stuff on YouTube and Upon the Death Horse too.
Nice.
Yep.
And Wax Moth.
Yeah.
Go through Brian's entire history.
It's all out there.
It's all out there for you to see and hear and experience. I believe that video for what is it? The Tony Hawk. What's it called again?
I started skating when Tony Hawk came out.
Yeah, when Tony Hawk came out. That was a
Nice.
Trendy Bastard video.
Oh, I'm gonna have to check that out.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Any last words, Brian?
Thanks for having me on. This is fun.
Yeah, absolutely. This was fantastic. Folks, we will, not see you, but we will, not even hear you.
No,
We
we
will
don't
just-
know if anyone else even exists. We might be the last 3 people on Earth right now.
Have a good one, everybody.
Yeah. Thanks, Brian. Bye, y'all.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
You're gonna get it.